Now, this is actually very challenging, not just in Jira, but in general. You can't really make a plan of 6 months and then take 2 years. Number of hours work where you just want to use these hours for billing. Make sure you hire good project managers. Hello everyone. So in this video, let us talk about capacity management in Jira. Whenever it comes to capacity, many people who want to use Jira, organizations who want to use Jira for planning, tracking, they really want to have this capability where they can track their resources, availability. They want to use this information to, of course, make a plan for the next few months, maybe few weeks. Basically, whenever there is a need to create a plan to deliver something, it could be a project, it could be some ongoing activity. And whenever there is a need to distribute the activities or the tasks that you want to perform, you want your resources to perform, you would like to know who can do it, when they can do it, how long they will take to do this. Now, this is actually very challenging, not just in Jira, but in general. I can tell you from maybe some examples. If you're trying to build a mobile app, then maybe this mobile app is for a specific market. Let us say you want to build this app for India market, right? And the app is, let us say, doing some food delivery. So this is the objective. And I think in my previous videos and also my advanced roadmaps portfolio series, I have used this example. And I use this example because I did something many years back. So let us say you have to build a food delivery app and you want to, of course, have some features in the app. And when we talk about an app, you, of course, want to have this app where talking about food delivery. Maybe in the next 6 months, you want to launch it where the app will be used by people to order food or maybe do some online shopping. Maybe they can order food within 10 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever. So basically the idea is that in 6 months, you should have an app that is up and running and you are basically making money in theory, of course. In 6 months, of course, you can do a lot. You can actually have an app with various features. And in the beginning, when you start planning, you want to, of course, start with what features you want to release in this app, maybe in the next 6 months. Whenever we talk about some kind of project that you want to release, you may have just one big release, or maybe you will have like smaller releases. What you can do in this case, if you're talking about food delivery app, maybe you can have like a very basic version of the app where in the beginning you would launch maybe just one city. Maybe you will have very basic features, but maybe you want to have in your very first version, in your very first release, you want to at least take orders. And of course, in the next 6 months, you have a plan based on the market situation, based on what your competitors are doing. So basically, whenever we talk about a plan, in simple language, plan is nothing but a list of activities, list of tasks that you want to do. You want to do those activities, those tasks, ideally in some time frame. You cannot really have a plan without a deadline, without some dates. And this is actually very important. This is in fact the most important part. You also need to figure out and worry about your resources. Now, talking about the food delivery app that we want to build, let us say you have 5 resources who will be working for you. And those 5 resources maybe are all developers. Maybe 3 of them are developers, 2 of them are probably doing something else. Or maybe you have a team of 10 people. So basically, if you have a team or if you have some resources, then you want to know how you can use those resources to accomplish those activities, those tasks that you can, work on. And of course, that will let you deliver your mobile app in the next 6 months. So we talked about a plan where we want to build some features. Then we talked about resources. Then, of course, it comes to time that those resources will take. Of course, initially you will do some high-level estimation, and then over the next 6 months or a few months, you want to now use those resources to make sure that you're able to deliver on time, or at least before time, or maybe somewhere in that particular range. You can't really make a plan of 6 months and then take maybe 2 years. I mean, of course, usually when it comes to plans and usually when it comes to projects like these, you will definitely take more time. But at least you should aim to be within at least 20% or 30%. So the deviation, both in terms of money and time, should not be, I think, more than 20 or 30%. I think that is what usually people aim for. And I think that is also realistic because things can change. Talking about capacity management, you may have 10 resources, but those 10 resources are, of course, all human beings. Whenever we talk about servers, servers are also resources. We know for sure that, okay, if you are running this server for these many hours, then roughly you will get a bill of these many dollars, right? So when it comes to resources like server resources, you can do some estimation which is probably close to what you're aiming for. Not always, but when it comes to human beings, it is extremely difficult. You can't really say that if you have 10 resources and you have availability of, you can potentially do that, but let us say talking about a week, if you have 10 resources, then you can probably think of multiplying that by number of hours in a week. Usually in a week, we talk about 40 hours. Talking about the standard these days. Of course, people work more and people are expected to work even more than 40 hours, depending upon where you're working. But if we talk about the ideal scenario where you just focus on number of hours, which is of course not really perfect, but let us say you just want to focus on number of hours. Now, you can say that, okay, in a way, based on 10 resources, I can do a simple math and I can multiply it by maybe 40. So you will have 400 hours available to you and you can use those hours. Now, the thing is that no one works for 8 hours. That is for sure. You may be thinking of using story points, which is slightly better, but it is very difficult to, reach a stage or reach that maturity level where you are able to, or your team, or maybe the company you're working for as a whole can adopt the agile based principles, Scrum. So if you're able to do that, great. And usually whenever we talk about agile, I think it really depends on not only your team itself, but you need a good project manager, you need like a culture, and maybe you also need some experience, because if you have never really used agile methodologies before, then it might not work for you in the beginning. Of course, you can do some kind of a mix where you can probably think about, okay, I want to focus on story points, and at the same time, I also want to do some equivalent estimation based on number of hours. And I'm talking about these estimations because that is what people eventually will be using, or they want to use for calculating the capacity. Because if we talk about 100 hours that you have available in your week, maybe in 2 weeks, if you're trying to follow sprints, then you can say that, okay, in a way I have 200 hours, right? Something like that. Or maybe you can say, maybe if not 200 hours, maybe if you're trying to follow story points, then you can say that I have maybe 30 or 40 story points roughly. Again, the problem with capacity itself is fundamentally is because when we talk about number of hours cannot be directly used to say that, okay, if I have to build this feature, then this feature can be built in X number of hours, because it really depends on who is doing it. It really depends on when they are doing it. It really depends on their availability. So whenever we talk about capacity management in Jira, it is extremely complex. If someone is claiming that, yes, you can do capacity management in Jira or any tool, to be honest, they are definitely lying, or maybe they have not done it before, because simply by using a number of hours or story points, you can't really say that, okay, I'm doing capacity management. And of course, in Jira, natively itself, you can do quite a lot. I'll talk about some of the apps. You have, of course, Tempo Planner, which you can use in a way. If you're on Jira Cloud Premium or if you're on Jira Data Center, you can definitely use Advanced Roadmaps, which is again not really perfect tool for capacity management because it gives you a view, but that view is not really a great view to do some kind of balancing. Ideally, based on my experience when I work with stakeholders, ideally they want to do some kind of a capacity management where they can do balancing, where they can see on a calendar that, okay, I have this calendar with me in front of me, and I can see that, okay, these resources, 10 resources are available for me to work on these activities, or at least they can do some kind of a planning, and that is where Tempo Planner comes really handy. From my experience, I can tell you from using Jira and helping my clients, number of hours work and only work where you just want to use these hours for billing. Imagine you have a team of external contractors and all you care about is you want to know on what dates your contractors worked or not worked. And usually when people work on something, they always enter 8, or they will make sure the total is always 8. So in a way, you are just doing some formality. You're not really using capacity management to actually focus on the delivery part. Again, in this video, I'm talking about capacity management, which I'm basically saying that it is complex, and you can tell me whether you agree with me or not, or whether you have like any other approach. So the thing is that whenever we talk about capacity, you also have to focus, and you should focus on the delivery rather than capacity. So when I work with stakeholders, when they ask me, Ravi, we want to use Jira, we have been using Jira, I want to do capacity management. So I just ask them, okay, so what is your definition of capacity? They give me, of course, different answers based on their experience or what they want to do. In most cases, capacity is all about looking at a view on a timeline, and that view, if that view can tell them that on this particular date or on these particular weeks or maybe these particular date ranges, who can be available, who is available. And that view is of course not perfect, but at least they will know that, okay, on these particular dates, I have these resources who can do some work. But that is it. If you go a bit more into detail, like if you talk about their actual hours, it is very difficult. You can't really plan who will be doing what on a calendar, the actual hours in a day. Like 2 hours, that person will be working on this story. For 3 hours, that person will be working on that story. Something like that. The best thing that I can tell you from my experience working with clients that works is just follow your sprints. Use normal Jira board, Scrum board. Start creating sprints for every month. Maybe if you are a project manager or a Scrum master, and again, you don't really have to follow sprint by book or agile methodologies by book. You just need to look at your upcoming activities or set of activities that you want to do or you think you can do. And I think sprints in Jira that you create in a Scrum board, I think in most cases that is all you need. Imagine for each and every month, like October, November, December, create 2 sprints for each month, and you will of course have roughly 2 weeks duration. And I think don't worry too much about what you want to do in the next, high level planning is necessary, but you can't really say that I want this resource to work on this particular feature or this particular story or bug maybe after 3 months. Just try to plan something, like keep your horizon, which is probably for the next few sprints. And of course, do some high-level planning. Maybe have your epics in the right order. That is a great thing about Scrum board. Not only you can plan your epics, and of course your epics will be further broken down into stories. You can also reorder it. Of course, your stories will be reordered, ranked. Ranking is the right word, which we use in Agile board. Ranking is important because that will tell everyone in your team the order that they should be working on. And when you do ranking, good thing about ranking is that you can do it, of course, for the entire team, and you can also make sure that whenever you're looking at the rank or the order, that order will stay as it is. Because when you have like a Scrum board with quick filters on top, and if I click on the quick filter, like let us say a specific resource, I can see that okay, I have to work on these activities in this order, in this sprint, or maybe across all the sprints. So that is actually a great thing, and you really need for the capacity management part. Again, this video is not only for the project managers but also for people who make decisions, people who hire or want to hire project managers, maybe program managers. Make sure you hire good project managers. Maybe think about paying them a bit more. These days, unfortunately, what I see a lot is project managers are not really project managers. Project managers are more of a project coordinator. And there is nothing wrong with doing project coordination, because project coordination is all about making sure that everyone is up to date, you're passing the information to the right people at the right time. Because project coordinators are not really, or they were never really developers, or maybe they were never really doing those things themselves, because they don't really have that experience. You can't really expect them to make decisions, and that is where an experienced project manager can definitely help. And an experienced project manager can use any tool. You don't really need to use Jira. You can use any tool as a good project manager to make sure that you deliver. Capacity management, again, there is no straightforward, simple one way of doing it. It really depends on what you want to do in your project. And I would say that instead of focusing only on capacity management, focus on the delivery, no matter how you deliver it. And I know we all talk about 8 hours a day and 40 hours in a week, which is great because we pay people based on the number of hours, or at least they're expected to work for these many hours in a month, which is fine. Nothing wrong with it, but maybe stop thinking about number of hours. And of course, if you stop thinking about number of hours, then if you're trying to follow, let us say, agile methodologies, I'm not really saying that follow agile by book, but focus on some kind of complexity. I think that is what story points are for. You can say that, okay, if the story point is 3, then it is probably not a complex task. I can assign it to someone junior or someone who is probably available. And your backlog, your sprint should be an active view, or not only view, but it should be like a live place where you keep on refining it, you keep on working on it, you keep on making sure that if someone is blocked or if some activity is taking longer, then do something about it. Don't just wait for Jira to tell you or notify you that something was planned and it is not delivered. you have to own it. You have to own your backlog. You have to basically own the whole project if you want to deliver. So focus on delivery rather than focusing on capacity management or doing some kind of availability, non-availability of your resources. Of course, that is important, but don't be driven by these things. Don't be driven by these numbers that these tools or these apps will give you. So I know I talked about a lot in this video, and I know this video is probably a bit longer than my usual videos, but I actually wanted to talk about it. So hopefully I've given you some ideas, and I've given you some pointers to think about capacity management in Jira. All right, so that is all I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new today. Thank you very much.